Flock and Bruce Jaffe is here. Let's call to order and do the roll call, please.
All right, Director Daniels.
I'm here, thank you.
Vice President LaHue.
I am here.
Director Jaffe.
I'm here.
Director Christensen.
Here.
And President Lather.
I am present. So the next item will be closed session, and we have a comment from the public prior to moving to closed section. You have 2 minutes.
Ms. Steinbrenner?
Hello, this is Becky Steinbruner. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Thank you. I would like to comment on some of the legal actions that you'll be reviewing with counsel in closed session. As the petitioner in pro per for public benefit, I would like to let you know that I am considering appealing the Coastal Commission award of demur without ability to amend my petition. There is a federal case that will allow me to amend my petition and requires that I be allowed to have opportunity to present evidence. I'm also letting you know that because I have read about in the newspaper today the Purewater Soquel project conveyance pipeline beginning, I will be forced to take urgent action regarding my most recent petition for writ of mandate, simply asking that you create a supplemental EIR and allow the public to have a 40-day comment period. That will require urgent action, and I'm just giving you notice. Thank you. That concludes my comment.
Okay, then we will move to closed session.
Is that it?
According to my computer, it's 6:40. Let's get started. We're back from closed session and there's nothing to report out. So now we will move to the public hearing. And that's a public hearing to receive comments on the draft 2020 Urban Water Management Plan and draft 2020 Water Shortage Contingency Plan. Shelley?
Yeah, hi. Thank you for the introduction of the item there. I'm Shelley Flock. I'm the district's conservation manager. And yes, we would like to receive input from the public on our draft 2020 Urban Water Management Plan. Our schedule or plan from here is to incorporate any board directed changes that come out of tonight's meeting, to bring back a final draft for adoption in June, and to submit the plan to the Department of Water Resources by the July 1st deadline. As highlighted in the memo, we've been bringing major components of the urban plan to the board over the past several months and seeking your input and direction, but this is really the first viewing of the plan in its entirety. In accordance with all of the regulatory requirements. This hearing was noticed in the local paper, and the draft was made available both online and at the Aptos Library in print a week in advance of the hearing. We hope that that was enough time for people to get through the plan. We recognize that it is fairly long, but you have seen a lot of components of it over the last few months. Additionally, we sent out letters to the local agencies, so the City of Capitola, the County of Santa Cruz, and other local water providers, letting them know that the draft was available and that we were holding this hearing tonight. And really with that, I would like to introduce Spencer Waterman of Water Systems Consulting. They've been helping us prepare the 2020 plan. They also helped us with the 2015 plan. And Spencer's going to be giving a presentation on the plan and the purpose of it and the components and some of the key summary items that come out of the plan. And then from there, we'll turn it back over to Director or President Lather to open the public hearing. So Spencer, take it from here. Thank you.
Sounds great. Thanks for the introduction, Shelley, and thanks to the board for having me here this evening. As Shelley mentioned, so far you've seen multiple components of the UWMP, and tonight I look forward to hearing input on the UWMP in its entirety. Next slide, please. On the agenda for tonight's discussion are the following core components of the UWMP, and we'll dig into each one a little bit more in detail in the following slides. Next slide, please. We could start off with a bit of background recap about urban water management plans, or UWMPs. They're required by the California Water Code, and they must be updated every 5 years. The California Department of Water Resources, or DWR, develops guidance to help meet that water code. And the intent for the UWMPs is to support near-term and long-term planning for supply, demand, drought, and shortages. This planning process was done in coordination with local land use agencies' input. Their input helps ensure projected demands for the next 20 years can be met with supply. In addition, the UWMP also provides a framework for shorter term issues like water shortage and response. Lastly, UWMPs are a prerequisite for certain loans and grants. Next slide, please. The required elements for the UWMP are summarized in this table here. And the first three on the top left give kind of the background and setting of the UWMP on why it's required and describe the districts in general. The water use and water supply chapters are developed individually and then kind of brought together and compared in the water service reliability chapter, which also includes a drought risk assessment, or DRA, which is a newly required component. And these chapters help to identify potential long-term and short-term shortages. And these in turn inform long-term conservation measures known as demand management measures, or DMMs for short. And it also informs shorter-term measures that are covered in the Water Shortage Contingency Plan, or WSCP for short. There is a required chapter to document Senate Bill X7-7 compliance, and that set up the 20% reduction by 2020 target, which was included in the 2010 and 2015 UWMPs, and the district is well below that target. We'll dig into that in a little bit in a sec. And lastly, in the bottom right corner, the UWMP process is documented. Next slide, please. So the water use component of the UWMP looks backwards at historical trends to help inform future water use projections. And as you can see, the usage generally declined since 2000, but is somewhat stabilized since the recent drought. Next slide, please. As presented in our previous meeting to talk about demand projections, this chart illustrates that there are multiple contributing factors to historical demand trends. It's also helpful to note that water use, as I mentioned, is quite a bit lower than the SB7 target. 2020 gallons per capita per day, or GPCD for short, was at 77, and the required target is 113 GPCD. Next slide, please. So the historical demand trends were used to inform projected demands. And we used the demand model that we originally developed in 2015, and we updated that with newer current information. And we've been through that in a previous discussion with the board. And so based on your input, we adjusted different factors and updated the projected social, economic, political, and technological factors that we anticipate will shape demand in the future. Multiple demand scenarios were reviewed, and the scenario using a baseline demand from 2010 to 2014 was selected for use in UWMP. This projection assumes that demand could increase in the absence of suppressing factors such as drought or groundwater emergency. However, future demand patterns are assumed to reduce over time due to efficiencies. Next slide, please. So this graph shows the selected demand projection scenario, assuming demands will ultimately be about 3,700 acre feet per year by the year 2040. Next slide, please. To meet demands, the district relies on the Santa Cruz Mid-County groundwater basin. And the groundwater basin is in a state of overdraft and threatened by seawater intrusion. Next slide, please. So to stabilize basin levels, the district is pursuing the Pure Water Soquel project. And Pure Water Soquel will use advanced purification recycled water to recharge about 1,500 acre feet per year to the basin. Next slide, please. There are other potential supplies that the district is investigating. However, they are not considered long-term and reliable sources at this point. These projects include the surface water transfer pilot with the city of Santa Cruz, a stormwater recharge pilot project with the county, and also monitoring any progress with deep water desal, should that advance. Next slide, please. Based on the analysis of supply and demand, it's expected that the district will continue to rely on the groundwater basin with implementation of Pure Water Soquel. Use of these resources will allow the district to meet demands while contributing to the basin's sustainability. Reliability analysis of the UWMP shows that the district can meet demands in average and drought years with basin groundwater supplemented by Pure Water Soquel, continued conservation, and other potential supply projects as they are possible. Next slide, please. As mentioned, conservation will continue to be a valuable resource management strategy for the district. Various programs that have been successful for conservation are summarized in the UWMP chapter and in this table. The district anticipates continuing these programs for continued conservation and water use efficiency. Next slide, please. While the district is expected to meet long-term demands, there is a potential for shorter-term shortages due to any combination of foreseeable and/or unforeseeable events. And the Water Shortage Contingency Plan, or WSCP, is intended to be a guide to help the district and its customers identify potential shortages and how to respond to those if they do occur. The WSCP also addresses a new requirement to develop a documented process for annual assessments of potential shortage, which will be due starting in July 2022. The shortage stages and triggering criteria that have been discussed in previous board meetings and the resulting stages are summarized in this table. Note that there is an additional stage 6 compared to the previous WSCP, and adding that stage is to comply with the new requirement to have supply shortage stage looking at greater than a 50% shortage. Next slide, please. So other required components of the WSCP are summarized in this table here, and a lot of these components are new. And the intent of these components is to lay out an actionable plan for identifying potential shortages and responding to them effectively. A lot of the effort to update your current WSCP included documenting sources and protocol that the district already carries out as part of proactive management. These new requirements are really an effort by the state to kind of standardize and compare apples to apples when looking at agencies across the state. Next slide, please. So in summary, the key takeaways from the UWMP are that the district's groundwater supply and pure water Soquel are expected to meet demands through 2040. And however, in the event that there is short-term shortages, the district's updates to its WSCP provide a roadmap for anticipating and responding to shortages. The district has far surpassed the required conservation target from Senate Bill X7-7, and it is also fairly well positioned to continue meeting forthcoming efficiency targets, which are being developed currently. Lastly, the UWMP is anticipated to meet all of DWR's requirements and maintain funding and grant eligibility. So with that, I'd like to thank the board and staff for all of your valuable input throughout the process so far, and I'd like to discuss any additional input that you have on the draft UWMP. Thank you.
Thank you, Spencer. At this point, we need to request if there's any public comment. I believe there was.
Yes, we have one.
Oh, good. I thought maybe I was muted. I was looking around.
Sorry, it takes me a minute to switch screens. Ms. Steinbruner?
Hello, this is Becky Steinbruner. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. I would like to first point out that the materials in the appendices is not available. Appendix C, which is the demand projection technical memorandum, is blank. There is no information. So I request the same for Appendix D, E. None of those have any information in them. So that needs to be included. I would like to sort of begin at the end, actually. Pages 117, 110, 108 talks about water pricing. And I want to urge you to really look at that and figure out what you will do to help your customers afford the water that is coming down the road with the very, very expensive Pure Water Soquel project and your annual increases. Page 108 actually discusses water code. I would like to ask that there be discussion in there about the district's junior water rights under water code, and that similarly should be included on page 78 with the legal aspects of water supply constraints. I want to have some discussion about why this urban water management plan uses the gallonage per day by customers of 77 gallons. That's much higher than what your records before have shown. General Manager Duncan always calls your customers the rock stars of conservation, and that they are already below the state's suggested 55 gallon per day usage. So I would like an explanation of why this study uses the figure of 77 gallons per day per person. I want to point out, going back to page 45, that the growth goal for the county.
Okay, so at this point, I need, I guess, a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Do we have to take a roll call?
Yes.
Okay,
President, if it is a motion, it should be by roll call.
okay. I'm not used to this. Okay,
Director Daniels,
Yes, please.
Vice President LeHue,
Yes.
Director Jaffe,
Yes.
Director Christensen, and President Lather.
yes. Okay, so at this point, we would like to start with the board discussion. Director Daniels, do you have anything to talk about? I'm pretty sure you do.
Yeah, I wanted to ask if this discussion about water prices and costing and so forth is required in this document. I didn't quite see anywhere that that was required. So I wanted to see if we even need to have that in there.
Spencer?
Yeah, so it's not directly required. However, in the DMM portion, they do request that you describe if you have any drought surcharges or anything of that sort that may discourage inefficient water use.
I'm
Was
done.
it? Okay, so
Did you say something, Rochelle?
I was wondering if you had anything to talk about.
Oh, your voice kind of
Are
went.
you
Sorry about that.
Director Daniels, are you referring
Well-
to the section, the demand management section, or the financial consequences of water shortage contingency plan?
It was the sections that were mentioned by the speaker.
Okay.
Should I go ahead? Should I proceed with my?
You can see my lips moving, but
Okay.
my voice isn't coming
All
out.
right.
Sorry about that. I tried to mute myself so my dog barking doesn't bother anybody. I don't know, Spencer, do you have an answer to that, or would you wait till maybe Tom's done and the rest of us, and then you can respond to all of the different questions? I think we could do that. Okay, Spencer?
Sure.
I think he already did respond to my question.
Well, there was Shelley's follow-up, but let's move on. Tom?
So let me ask a question. Really substantially, I don't have major comments. I just have like typos and missing words and a few minor thoughts. Should I just do it now?
Sure.
Okay, I mean, so I'm not trying to be nitpicky, but I've had a little, oh, also I should ask somebody what's a good annotation software for the computer? Because I couldn't use my iPad like usual. So it was just a little bit challenging for me with the PDF thing that I had. So anyway, so on page 23 of 218, on the third from the bottom line, just forgot the word prevention. Everywhere else it's there, but it says Soquel Creek Water District is currently developing a groundwater replenishment and seawater intrusion prevention project. So should be prevention in there. Got that one?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, and then on, let's see, page 32. Oh, 32. Okay, at the end of the 3.1.2 community water plan, there was just, at the end of that paragraph says, summarized in error, reference source not found. So I don't know what that's supposed to be, but clearly not that.
Yeah, I think there may have been a link there or something that didn't get.
Yeah, these are just clean up things mostly.
That's great. Thank you. 3.1.2. Okay.
And 34, there are bullet points at the top, and on the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, number 5, it says environmental review for groundwater recharge pure water Soquel completed. It says Soquel Creek Water District is not actively considering this project at this time. I'm assuming you meant that line to be after desal, maybe.
Yeah. Okay.
So that, it's clearly not what you meant to say there. 2 bullets below that, in February 2021, Soquel Creek Water District enters into an agreement. I think I would say renewed an agreement, since it was a 5-year renewal of a previously already agreed upon agreement. Good with that one?
Mm-hmm.
38's really nitpicky, sorry.
We don't mind.
Okay, under 3.4.2, other social, economic, and demographic factors on the 5th line. Approximately 86% of people 25 years or older should be have. Sorry, I know that's just grammatically not a big deal, but there you go. My teacher part of me just couldn't let that go. Now we're moving all the way to 62. And that's something. Where is that? I really had trouble with this PDF thing. I think one of you guys must know some more about how to do this, but
Dr. LaHue, if you don't mind me asking, it's Emma. Did you have trouble with the whole board packet or just the urban water management plan with the I annotate?
no, it wasn't I annotate. See, I didn't have my iPad, so I'm using just like either I was trying Adobe Reader or I was trying Preview on the Mac, and it's just was more challenging. So I need like a better way to annotate. But anyway,
Okay, thanks.
it's not a problem. At the very last line of that page should be threatening, not threading. Okay.
I think I missed that. Are we on page 62?
That was 61. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
My bad.
Okay, I see.
And then on 62, this was more of a substantive idea thing. It mentions, the groundwater sustainability plan, but it doesn't really say that Pure Water Soquel is an integral part of that plan. It just kind of dances around it. So I don't know whether, the plan doesn't really deal with achieving sustainability by 2040 without it. So I don't know how you want to, deal with that, but that's just my comment. On 63, the next to last paragraph, it mentions that the Santa Cruz wastewater treatment facility receives wastewater from the city of Santa Cruz and the city of Scotts Valley. And I thought that they only received already treated wastewater from Scotts Valley that went into their outfall and didn't necessarily go to their treatment plant.
That's true.
So just for accuracy, I thought that was somewhat important. Not probably anything. Really, while I'm going through all these things, I think it's really a ton of work and you guys have done a great job. I just can't help wanting it to have all these little things tied up.
Yeah, we want it to be perfect. So
well, we should try anyway, right?
yeah, we're striving for perfection.
Okay, now I have to switch to a different reader because then I started getting frustrated with that one because it was highlighting everything. So anyway, where I was at 63, don't worry, there's not that many more. I just couldn't, like with I annotate, I can, okay, here we go. Page 69, under water exchanges and transfers, under transfers, about 7 lines down, it says with an approximate ending data. It should be just date. Did you find that one?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. And then this was just a question on page 73. On climate change effects. The very last line, is it drought resilient or drought resistant? I kind of like resilient, but I wasn't sure whether that was what you wanted or not. But anyway, I've always heard it mention a drought resistant, but resilient kind of says bouncing back. So I don't know. You guys.
And, which paragraph is that on page?
It was the very last line on that page.
Yeah, it could be either.
Okay.
It could be either. I think we steer away from drought proof.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's fine. I just wanted to make sure it was what was intended and not just an accident.
Resilient as in bouncing back does not apply, I think.
It doesn't apply?
No, it does not.
That's what I was thinking. It's resistant, not
Yes.
resilient.
As long as you can resist it, you're doing good. But to make it go away completely, impossible.
Okay. So I think maybe my initial worry, Bruce is agreeing with that it should be resistant, not resilient. We are all resilient. We will bounce back from all this stuff.
I
But
think so.
I think so.
Some of
But
us
I'm
will.
not sure. But if we do mess up with letting seawater intrusion come in, it's not really going to be that resilient. So I think I'm done.
You're done. Oh, good.
Hey. Okay.
You-
Sorry for that, guys, but
It's okay. You can't help yourself. It's like me. Typos just jump out at me.
I know. And I probably missed some, but whatever. There you go.
Okay, so Bruce Jaffe, you're next on the list. Do you have anything to share?
Not like Tom. No, I don't. I think it's a well put together report.
Thank you.
Sorry, Director Christensen, I muted myself there. You are next.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't, I tried not to scan it for typos, I have to admit. That was my, what I considered a weakness. I had a job doing that, but I feel like we've hashed this out pretty well. I really appreciate the effort and the previous iterations of bringing it forward and the discussions that we had. I just feel like it's a really nice document, and I appreciate the corrections you found, Tom.
Me too. You did it for the team.
My version of it didn't have the error message. I don't know. So there might be some just electronic jumbles.
Oh.
Be sure to check it carefully before we print it up. That's all. And so that's my major comment. I appreciate all the other discussions we've had on this. Really helped.
Okay, if there's no further discussion, was there any clarifications that Spencer needed to make? If not, otherwise we would be looking for a motion.
I'll just add that the per capita consumption that was shown in that slide is total per capita consumption. That includes commercial and institutional and dedicated irrigation use. So it's not the residential only per capita consumption that we typically look at and report on. So just wanted to clarify that.
Well, thank you. That makes complete sense.
I guess I'll just make a motion to direct staff to make those small corrections that were suggested.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Can we have a roll call?
Director Daniels,
Yes.
Vice President LeHue,
Yes.
Director Jaffe,
Yes.
Director Christensen,
You're muted, Carla.
Yes. There you go.
and President Lather.
I'm not muted, so yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have a unanimous vote on that. Thank you, everyone, for all your hard work. And we can move on to the next agenda item, which is board members' opportunity to remove items from the consent agenda. Are there any board members interested?
I have a few comments on 4.5.
Oh, I do have some things. What number is the what's on tap?
That's 4.5.
Yeah, okay.
Are they basically
Longer than
typos?
No, it's not
Okay.
just typos.
Because we could just
No.
give that to staff and not go
No.
through that. Okay, then we will
All right.
pull 4.5 and put at the end of the agenda. And we need public comment. I guess we have public comment on the consent agenda. I have to look at my spreadsheet, but is that true?
Yes, we have
Okay.
one.
Ms. Steinbruner?
It looks like she's still muted.
I just asked her to unmute.
Hello, this is Becky Steinbruner. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Thank you. I would like to just comment regarding your production, the production information shown, and that it states right there that the per capita consumption is 56 gallons per day. So that's right there in your production reports. And I want to commend your customers for being such good conservation people. Regarding the surplus items that were sold, it's sad to me to see that a lot of items went to the dump. That's too bad, and wish that it could have gone to perhaps Goodwill or some other thing. I guess that's all. I would like to also be able to comment on the what's on tap when it comes up. Will I be able to do that?
No, this is
Josh,
this
All
should
right.
be the time.
All right.
I'm reviewing the spreadsheet right now. Yeah, we requested on that, so no, there won't be an opportunity to comment
All
specifically.
right. Well, then I would like to commend you on the beautiful garden that is now planted for Vi Campbell. I've seen it as I drive by, and thank you for putting that in the What's on Tap. I hope that you will have in the What's on Tap a good discussion of the rate increase, and that you are now looking for people to serve on a committee that will recommend further rate increases. That really needs to be in there in terms of people being able to be notified, to participate, and to know that this additional rate increase is coming down the pike. I don't really see any discussion of the rate increases in the What's on Tap, but it definitely
okay, well,
needs
your
to be
time is
there.
up, Becky.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so we will move on to a motion.
I'll move approval of the other consent agenda items other than 4.5.
Second,
Okay, so will you please take a roll call?
Director Daniels,
Yes.
Vice President LaHue,
Yes.
Director Jaffe,
yes.
Director Christensen,
You're muted again.
Is that okay? I say
Yeah.
yes.
and President Lather.
Yes. So we
By the
have,
way, everyone, if you're muted, the fastest way is just to push the space bar down, and that automatically gets you out of mute so you can make your comment and then let go.
now you tell us
Yeah.
a year into this pandemic.
You have to hold it down though.
Yeah, you have to hold it down, but as
Let
soon
me
as you
try.
release it, you go back into mute.
Did that.
Oh, you have to lift it up to get it out. Okay. Well, thank you, Bruce. I appreciate that.
Anytime.
Okay, so now let's say we're on to the next item. That was a unanimous vote. We're on to oral and written communications. Do we have public comment for this?
Yes, we have one.
Yeah.
Ms. Steinbruner?
Hello, this is Becky Steinbruner. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. I just want to comment that I have received your district's alert that there's a broken water main today down near Mar Vista Elementary School. And I want to really be appreciative of the work that the district is doing to upgrade that main in that whole Soquel Drive area. I think you've been able to accomplish that work with minimal traffic disruption and that is saying a lot. I have seen that the paving that will happen there is going to happen at night, and I want to thank you for that because it is such a busy corridor and is becoming busier now that some of the schools are opening up and businesses are opening up again. I wonder why, on another topic, there is no agenda item regarding the annexation of the properties in the La Selva Beach area that your board discussed last time. It was stated that it would be on the agenda, and I'm curious why it is not. I have had some conversations with a few of those people, and they were looking forward to a discussion. Perhaps they've contacted you, but I wonder if you could have some discussion about when we can expect to see that. And finally, I just want to make note of the changes in the website. It is some good improvements, but I wonder how people can find the communication, the correspondence that has been sent. I do believe that I sent correspondence to the board within the time frame that should have allowed it to be included, but it is not. So if you could please provide, if those rules have changed, how we can find correspondence from the public on your website. Thank you.
Are there any board members that have any public written or oral correspondence communications? I'm trying to be creative in my use of words, obviously.
Oh, I'll just mention, I started the first day of the California Special Districts Association legislative days, and it was very interesting. It's clear that water districts are not the predominant special district in the state of California, but there are quite a few. And John Garamendi was, he was awarded the Legislator of the Year, federal, the national legislator, for really studying special districts and seeing that the COVID relief funding didn't include special districts, and he made sure they were included in the next bill. So it was deeply appreciated by all of the members of that board, and that's how I got the award. It was very interesting. I didn't know that, but he gave a very humble speech saying every job he's ever had as a politician, he's known nothing, and he just had a steep learning curve, and he just feels like he's learned a lot in public service. So he said, if you ever want to have a free education, that's the way to do it. So anyway, that's all.
Well, thank you, Carla. Anybody else have comment?
President Lather, this is Emma, and I just wanted to respond to Ms. Steinbruner's comment, if I could have a minute.
Which one?
Regarding the correspondence on our website. I just wanted to let her know where she can find it. It is still posted online. If you navigate to the board meetings and agendas page, you can click on the date of the board meeting, and it'll bring you to a cover page that has a link to all of the correspondence.
Well, thank you, Emma. Any, okay, so we don't have any other board members that have anything to say. It's my understanding that any kind of annexation process discussion would be at LAFCO and not here, unless I'm wrong. And let's move on to the next item unless there's other discussion. And that would be reports. District Council, do you have an oral report?
I do. Thanks, President Lather. I just wanted to give a brief update to the board about the status of Brown Act and COVID-19. So the first is on just sort of the short term. So as the board will remember, the reason we're able to meet in this remote only format is based on the executive order the governor issued actually right when the pandemic was just starting. And that executive order remains in place until social distancing is recommended. I think based on the governor's relatively recent announcement of a June 15th reopening, as well as some subsequent guidance that's been released related to masks and other things, it still remains unclear If and when the June 15th reopening will allow us to continue meeting remotely in this format. And it's something that, of course, staff, we will watch very closely and will provide you with additional information as it's available. We're not the only agency, that's watching this issue. And actually, as today, CSDA, the League, Aqua, and a number of other stakeholder groups sent the governor a letter asking for some additional clarification on that issue, and for the governor to consider providing a phase-out period for agencies to adapt if the governor is going to relax the social distancing requirements in his executive order. The second thing I wanted to briefly update the board on is we talked previously about some of the legislation that's currently pending in Sacramento that might make permanent changes to the Brown Act related to remote meetings. There are at least 3 bills that were proposed, and they're all at various stages of the process. I would just say somewhat, unfortunately, those bills are not in their current form providing the same flexibility that we hope they would, and may not allow us to continue in this format if they were adopted. As we all know, things move very quickly in the legislature and amendments can happen. And so doesn't mean, we won't get that flexibility at the end of the day. It's just so far that's not where those bills are. But again, we'll continue monitoring them and let you know as soon as more information is available. I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Are there any questions? Was I supposed to do anything? It doesn't look like it for public comment.
Did receive one
a public comment.
request.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Public comment.
Ms. Steinbruner?
Thank you. This is Becky Steinbruner. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Council, for that report about the Brown Act updates and also the COVID issues. I want to respectfully request that the board again make available, now that the public libraries are open again for a very limited time, and in fact you did, or you said you did, I didn't know it was there, put a copy of the draft urban water management plan available
hey
for
guys.
the public. Hello? Did make it available at the Aptos Library, but it wasn't stated on the website that it was there. And when you go to the library now, it's on a very restricted visitation basis. But if there are hard copies of the district's agenda packet, that would be very helpful. The Aptos Library is scheduled to close June 11th. The Capitola Library will open June 15th. So I request that hard copies of your agenda packets be made available to the public as an alternative for the virtual meetings so that people can access the information. I also request that the slides used in a meeting be posted in advance of the meetings so that members of the public can see them. We can't if we're not able to view the screen in video mode. So I would very much appreciate those additions for alternative use and participation at your board meetings. Thank you very much.
So now we're back to board members. Did anybody have a comment or question of district council? See nobody jumping to this. I am going to move on to administrative business. We have no conditional and unconditional will serve letters. So we're on number 7.2, consider approval of 3 property related agreements with Twin Lakes Baptist Church, Cabrillo Community College, and the Auto Plaza area for the Pure Water Soquel project.
Yes, President Lather, and I'll take that one. I apologize. I have a house full of young people in there.
Is there a sleepover or what?
They wish. So what's in front of you tonight is for your consideration for approval is 3 property related agreements. One with Twin Lakes Baptist Church, one with Cabrillo College, and one with the Santa Cruz Seaside Company. And they're all related to the Pure Water Soquel project. At Twin Lakes Church, what's proven out to be the long-term agreement for what's proven out to be a recharge well. At Cabrillo, the agreement revolves around monitoring wells related to recharge wells. And then the Seaside Company is related to the Auto Plaza frontage road, where part of the conveyance pipeline will go. So what we're asking tonight is by motion and roll call, if you'll adopt resolution 2107, authorizing the district's general manager pursuant the Pure Water Soquel EIR and addendum to execute these agreements presented in attachments 1, 2, and 3, approved by a form approved by the district council. So, and I'd be glad to answer any questions after public comment.
Okay, so now we need to go to public comment.
Ms. Steinbruner?
Hello, this is Becky Steinbruner. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. I just want to point out that the Twin Lakes Church well was always meant to be a recharge well. And it was very deceptive the way the district put that through and approved the project and put it out to bid even before the environmental impact report for the project was certified. That needs to be said because it was very deceptive and you always knew it was going to be a recharge well. To that end, I am still appalled that, as it states on page 169, the district will award the church 3.5 acre feet a year of free water, whether it's potable or recycled for irrigation. In your court documents, you stated that it was going to be a demonstration project for the recycled water, but that isn't even specified here. It can be potable water, 3.5 acre feet a year for free for 50 years. I also see that it would waive any water demand offsets for expansion of residential, on-site residential use for anything that's not over 1,600 square feet, and to either be attached to an existing single-family residence, and or an ADU. This is exorbitant. You're giving them free water. You've been paying them $800 a month from the day that you broke ground there. And this is a pure gift of public money, which is being funded by public assets and public taxpayer money to a private entity, a religious entity, and I protested. I am curious why there are no monitoring wells near the two mutual water companies that are downstream of the Twin Lakes Church injection well. That needs to happen. There are two mutual water companies there that are very close, and some private well owned.
Okay, so now we can move on to, there I go. Sorry, I clicked on any director comments? Director Daniels, do you have anything to talk about?
Well, I wanted to respond to the speaker. This was always intended, that well was intended as a recharge well, but it was not intended necessarily for Pure Water Soquel. If we had ever gotten the city engaged in doing aquifer storage and retrieval in our basin, it could have been used for that, for recharge, and then perhaps maybe pulling it back out and sending it to the city. But that never happened. So the one thing that it did happen is going to happen is pure water. So that's why it's a recharge well for pure water and not the other.
Okay, did you have any other comments?
I did. I was kind of chagrined by the cost of all these, and I was wondering if all these costs were in our budget and planned, over the years we've been working on this. Because if we have to do this kind of price for, every 100 feet or so of our conveyance system, that's going to be very expensive.
Yes, the costs are budgeted and they were, professional appraiser appraised the cost.
Yeah,
Okay.
and
I'm
Director
sorry.
Daniels, sorry, I'll say that this is the last of the easements you'll see. The rest of the pipeline and the rest of the wells are in the public right of way, so they'll be covered under a encroachment permit. Encroachment permit has already been was actually issued today, and the rest of the monitoring wells will be within the public right of way. So some of the other private, the monitoring wells that are located on private property already have easements obtained. So we don't expect any additional land acquisition or easements needed.
That sets my mind at rest. Thank you so much for first of all, for being so diligent about making sure that happened. And second of all, for making it work, with the finances. So thanks.
It's very, very good that we had it appraised. I didn't doubt you in any way, but it's good to hear that. So next is Vice President LaHue.
I have no questions.
Director Jaffe? You look like you have no comment. Director Christensen?
Oh, I had a concern about the, how that worked, that we needed, to purchase things, but it's because the Seaside Company owns that road. So that's, my concerns are answered too. As usual, this team has been very diligent and it shows.
Thank you, Carla. Bruce, did you have something to say? I saw your lips moving, but you were muted. Okay, I have
no, I don't have anything to say.
Okay, I have no comment, so we can move on to a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion second. Can we do a roll call, please, Emma?
Director Daniels,
Yes, please.
Vice President LaHue,
Yes.
Director Jaffe,
Necessary and yes.
Director Christensen,
Yes.
and President Lather.
Yes. So we have a, sorry, my whole mind went there. Okay, so it's the motion passed and we'll move on to the next board item. And that is consideration of temporary compensation adjustment for 3 management classifications.
Great. Thank you, President Lather. The purpose of this memo is to request the board consider temporary compensation adjustments for 3 classifications in the management group and the works associated with Pure Water Soquel. As laid out in the memo, this project should, the effort in itself for the next couple of years will equal the budget of the district roughly. So that alone, and then the resulting assets are quite significant. So when you take that into consideration, what that results in is an expanded scope of duties and responsibilities for the primary leads on this project, which are the 3 classifications outlined in the memo put forth for you tonight. And I want to be clear, these are temporary adjustments. They're not reportable to CalPERS and other noted things in there in the memo. So what I'm requesting is by motion authorize a temporary non-CalPERS reportable compensation noted in the memo for the 3 management classifications until substantial completion of Pure Water Soquel is reached, or until the district's GM determines that the duties have subsided and are no longer warranted. And of course, that'd be subject to board approval. And also, we'd like to request that the board provide additional authorization for the temporary compensation to be retroactive, since this work and level of responsibility has been going on since before January 1st, 2001. And for the general manager to execute any documentation necessary to implement these changes. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. Now we can go to public comment for 2 minutes.
Ms. Steinbruner?
This is Becky Steinbruner. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. I'm glad I'm not one of your ratepayers. That's all I can say. Is this project is getting worse and worse in terms of expenses and what the financial burden you're placing on your customers will be. I don't understand why when people are given more responsibility, they're given such huge pay increases, $1,600 a month, $1,000 a month on top of what they're already getting. Why don't you just hire an assistant, a part-time assistant? If these people are maxed out on their workload already, how does paying them additional $1,000 to $1,600 a month make it better? I appreciate that they are doing a lot of work. That's their job. That is their job, and they're paid to do their job. So if I were a ratepayer, I would be livid overseeing this, because you do your job and you don't have to be given exorbitant rate increases just for doing your job. If the workload is so exorbitant, hire a helper. This is ridiculous. That completes my comment.
I'd like to respond to that, Rochelle.
Oh, thank you, Bruce.
Totally unfeasible to hire somebody who hasn't been working on this to get up to speed in time. And the price would be significantly more than what we're compensating these managers. And this is not their job. They're working many hours extra because they want to see sustainability for the district. And they've been doing this for many months. And this is a way of acknowledging that.
Can I add?
I would like to respond as well.
Yeah.
Yes, please, Bruce. Sorry,
I think
Tom.
it's totally outrageous that this person comes and speaks about adding costs to our ratepayers when she has cost the district hundreds of thousands of dollars already. I think it's something like $25 per account that she's already cost us, and she's continuing. In fact, earlier in this meeting, she was threatening to do additional things that's going to cost us yet more hundreds of thousands of dollars. So it's completely and totally outrageous. And I think our public needs to understand what this person is doing to them.
And I just wanted to make another comment in that the people we're talking about didn't ask for this. They didn't ask for a pay increase. They'd be doing it because they're so committed to doing an excellent job, and the demands of doing such a huge project for a small district, they're great. And at this point, if they are willing to take it on and do the additional work needed to see this through because they're so committed, I think this is the way, this is a very justified reward for that. I mean, and to make them feel okay about the time that they're putting in. So I personally really appreciate the efforts. We're all committed to seeing this through and seeing and achieving sustainability. It's just a huge goal that we're putting on everyone's shoulders in the district. And I also want to mention there's other people in the district that are working very hard too, and it doesn't, not to lessen their contribution, but I think the excessive workload and the necessity of these people that are already in it and can most efficiently carry it through, I just want to thank them as well.
One thing I want to add is that their expertise and efforts already have saved us so much money that it more than covers all these extra funds. So, and this is going to continue. So I think this is something that's actually benefits the district to do this and reward them for saving us much more than this by their hard work.
Yeah, I wanted to add, we are just extremely fortunate. We have such highly qualified, lean and mean management team. This is this project that we're undertaking is really extremely important, but it's also a very big project. And usually, if you look at all these other water districts who have done this, they have a much larger effort than we could even consider in our small districts. So they're just remarkable. It is just, we are extremely fortunate to have their management and their expertise and their sincere, extensive 24/7 efforts. And we've mentioned this before. They've just, they spared nothing to get this done on time and as close to budget as we can possibly get it. So thank you.
President Lather, if I may add into that.
Sure.
All the managers, all the staff work really hard, especially the managers. There's not a manager that doesn't, put in many extra hours than the 40. And I think that's obvious. And it's true that just the duration, that level of effort, but it's also specifically related to the scope of duties and the responsibilities on this is far exceeds what was originally envisioned in the job descriptions for these people. So I just wanted to make that clear also. Thank you.
Well, as someone who has a job working as an engineer for a public special district and has been doing that for 30 years, I can tell you that this is not your everyday job. This is above and beyond your everyday job. And as far as doing our jobs as public servants, we work very hard, at least the people in Soquel Creek Water District, and what my observations have been, work very hard at their jobs. And this is a very stressful situation. There's a lot of litigation. There's a lot of complicated decisions that need to be made. And you can't just hire an intern to do this extra work for $20 an hour or $15 an hour. This is important. And really what we're giving them is not that much in the scheme of things. When you hire even a starting level person, their income adds up to over $100,000 because of overhead and all the medical and everything that goes with it. So I do not agree with that comment, and I actually take a great deal of offense as a public servant for it. But I will move on because I understand that not everybody gets it, and that's the way it is.
I'd like to make the motion.
Yes, can we have a motion, please?
I would like to make the motion to authorize this compensation.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion, a second. Can we do a roll call, please, Emma?
Director Daniels?
It's well served, yes.
Vice President LaHue?
Absolutely, and thank you.
Director Jaffe?
Thank you very much. Yes.
Director Christensen?
Yes.
And President Lather?
A very passionate yes. So we can move on to the next item. Let's see, 7.4, which is initiate the public member recruitment process for our 3 standing committees. And this will be Ron and Emma. Ron, you're muted.
Oh, I got to put $1 in the pot. I'll just open this up and then hand it off to Emma. Because Emma writes a lot of these memos. She writes all of them that have our names on them. So this is going to be kind of her debut in presenting the memo actually. And so Emma, please take it away.
Yeah, so this item is presented for the board to consider initiating the public member recruitment for the district's 3 standing committees. This was supposed to happen last year, right during the middle of the start of the pandemic. So the board decided to extend to temporarily hold off on the recruitment and wait a little while. So this item is now presented to kind of kick that back off. And so what we're asking tonight is if the board would like to start this process for the recruitment, and then also to designate a review and selection committee. So the board can nominate up to 2 directors to serve on an ad hoc committee for this, or they could also make the choice to have staff proceed with the review and selection, then presenting to the full board the candidates to nominate and swear in at the July board meeting. So I think that's about it. Ron, let me know if I missed anything.
I think you did a good job. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So at this point, we are ready for public comment. Please take care of that, Emma.
Ms. Steinbruner?
Sorry, Rebecca.
Hello, this is Becky Steinbruner. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. I really appreciate that the district has these standing committees. I think it would be good to include this in the What's on Tap, that you are opening up the recruitment. As I skimmed the What's on Tap, and I won't be allowed to speak on that as it comes up here at the end of the meeting, I didn't see any mention of it. So I hope that you will use the excellent opportunity in the What's on Tap to extend invitations to the public to serve on this. I wonder why you limit it to no more than 2 members of the public. Sometimes people can't come. And I also think that, maybe 3 to 5 would be better. You'd have a better palette of public input and participation. And to that end, what is the purpose of these standing committees? I think that should be very clearly defined in any recruitment work that you do. What is the purpose? I've attended them and have been confused myself. What is the purpose of these standing committees so that you can say you do have them? How do those standing committees support and interact with the board other than the 2 board members that are there? And what outreach do they do carrying forth the information to the public? Thank you.
Thank you. So let's move on to board member comments.
I think it might be nice to have the committees themselves to decide how many members to have on.
Have we had a lot of demand from the public to be on these committees?
Emma can help me out with this, but I believe our policy, we try to give some guiding, some guidance, and it says 2, but it also allows the board to add more depending on the applicants. If we have several more, like for our rate in the past, when Leslie's done a rate committee, I think we had like 12 people on that one. So it does fluctuate.
And Ron, this is Emma, that's correct. Our policy says up to 2, but the board may have more if there's significant interest. For example, our Water Resources Management and Infrastructure Committee currently has 4 public members because we received a lot of interest on that one.
So, yeah, I mean, I think some of the committees are more specific to people, you have to have time and interest in the issue. So Tom, did you have a comment?
Yeah, actually, just briefly, I do think that it's nice to have some flexibility. You start with 2, and if you have a lot of interest, we can increase the number of people. To a point, I guess, if there's meeting room sizes and so forth but I think that we have that flexibility. I do think I did have a question about how we do advertise it. And I do think it's a good idea that Ms. Steinbruner mentioned as far as like, if we could fit it into the What's on Tap. It's a neat idea.
Yeah, and I can respond a little bit more to that too.
Oh, sorry, Emma.
Oh, I'll just say we have the district's quick sips going out in early June, which is an e-newsletter And Becca and I plan to advertise in the quick sips.
Okay.
Yeah, there's definitely timing issues.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Bruce?
Yeah, I agree with the flexibility to have more than two. And what makes sense to me is for the staff to work with the committee chairs and vice chairs on the selection.
Okay.
Oh. So the vice chairs and chair of each committee would be the two people reviewing the public members. That's not a bad idea.
Well, that's my comment. And the reason we had a separate selection committee is that the people who applied, we had a lot of people who were interested in the water, the water infrastructure committee, but they said they were willing to serve either on the finance committee or the outreach. And so it was a ranking system that went into it. So it might be a little unwieldy to have each committee do that. Seemed better to set up a matrix on that. It might be more. And then we can review it later when we have all of the applicants. And this is just the last time we reviewed it. And then that's how the infrastructure committee was expanded. And but not as many people were interested in being on the finance committee. They were willing to be on the finance committee, 2 people. So, it just varies. And in response to what the purpose of it, my impression of the committees is that it's a sounding and discussion board. It's an opportunity for informal discussion of policies that are going through and going to be discussed at the board. So it helps.
I also think it's a source of ideas.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. So it's they're very, I think they're a really good idea. And yeah, it'd be nice. I think it looks like people start to lose interest after a certain period of time, or they just move on in their lives. So I think doing a selection process more frequently than we have done it would be better. So.
And the only requirement for application is to be a district customer.
Correct.
Yeah, it does get kind of unwieldy if you get too big a committee, just from a committee standpoint. I mean, nobody has to listen to me, but there's a point where there's just too many people and you can't get through the meeting. And yeah. Right. So there is a limit, but I don't think we've ever reached that at this point. Okay, so
we should be so lucky to have the doors being knocked down by people on these committees. It's a lot of work and
a room limitation by the fire department.
Yeah, I really appreciate the people who do serve on these committees.
Yeah, I mean, just to put a point on that, if I may, one of our standing committee members was instrumental in alerting us to help to secure the $50 million grant. So there's value right there, right?
Yeah. Good old, thank you, Larry.
Yes.
Yes, that was, there's a lot of value. Sometimes we get stuck in a rut in the way we look at things. So I appreciate their opinions. So I think we have a motion that needs to be made for this.
I would be willing to be on this selection committee. I don't know if others have an interest to do that, but if no one else, or if there's only one other, I'd be willing to do it.
Anyone else?
I'll do it. I did it the last time.
Okay.
Okay. So I'll make a motion that we initiate the public recruitment process and appoint Bruce Daniels and Carla Christensen to work with staff to review and select public members to serve on the standing committees.
Sorry, I have a dog that wants to talk, so hold on. Do we have a second?
I will second.
Thank you, Bruce.
And Tom, would you be willing to put in language so that it's not just up to 2, that it could be more than 2 at the discretion of the committees.
Sure. Yeah.
Me too.
Me too.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so we have a motion, a second. Can we do a roll call, please?
Yes, Director Daniels,
Yes.
Vice President LaHue,
Yes.
Director Jaffe,
Yes.
Director Christensen,
Yes.
and President Lather.
Yes. So that was unanimous. Now we go to the consent agenda item that was pulled, and I think that was 7.4.
4.5.
7.5, okay.
4.5.
Oh, sorry, 4.5. This, that's the district's what's on tap. Tom,
Well, I think Bruce had something too.
well, you're unmuted. Okay. Bruce?
Okay, what I looked at is on page 3 under do you know? I think it should mentions droughts at the very end. I think it should mention that we're
What's page 3. Hold on.
It's page 3 of the thing. I think it's the second page of the, yeah, there it is.
Okay, got
And
it.
you see the last sentence there talks about droughts we've had and doesn't mention the drought that we're in right now. And I think that's an important fact we should not leave out.
Also,
And,
oh yeah,
and the
while you're on
second
that,
thing is
while
that-
you're on that paragraph, though,
Yeah.
I
The
also
second
thought-
thing is in the next paragraph, there's a lot of talk about snow. And since that doesn't apply to us at all, I think it would be confusing to our customers to wonder why we're talking about snow when do we use snow now in addition to using all these other sources of water that we use like the Soquel Creek and so forth. So I would take that out, and that gives us some space to talk about other useful things, I think.
Bruce, I beg to differ. I think there's a bunch of people that think that dams are the answer in this area and in the state, and it's good to understand that they're not.
So I had a point about this particular part too, but I thought we should focus on how the drought affects us by decreasing recharge and increasing the need for irrigation. I do, we do have people that still think our water comes from the Sierras, from the snowpack. So I do think that could be confusing, but I do think it clearly for us, this is an opportunity for us to say we're not surface water, but it does clearly affect recharge. Like some years, like last year, we probably got no recharge. And then when it's a drought, people start to irrigate more. So we've got increased demand and decreased supply. So.
Yeah, I agree with all those.
Thank you. I think we can receive that input and we can rewrite this section.
I have a couple other things, if you don't mind.
And Melanie, maybe along those lines, besides when it does rain, the intensity is supposed to be higher intensity and shorter duration, which makes less recharge too. Okay.
Yeah. So the other things I have, let's see. So on the, I'm trying to find the page numbers because they kind of, is that 1, 5, and 6 on the one page, and then
Director LaHue, if you just want to say what article you, and I can find it.
Okay, all right.
And just so you guys know, this is a new layout for us. So it's a bigger spread than what you've seen before.
Right,
So
I like it.
Yeah.
No, it looks great. So on the, it's on page 163, but it's the one, what does a typical residential water bill pay for? On the left-hand side. Overall, I really like having that graphic. I think it's great. I just wasn't sure, like on the third one, it says the exact same thing. I didn't know if there was any way to not just, have the exact same text again. Like in the top one, it just lists infrastructure and then it explains about it. Whereas in the third one, it just says the exact same thing, 5% to then the exact same thing. I don't know. But if you think that's fine, I think overall that's a really good one. Right below that on the continuation of the CIP article, it says the compromise pipeline has had several catastrophic failures over the last several years, which are dangerous and expensive. But I just thought maybe add and result in significant water loss. So by fixing them, we're saving water. That was just a point I thought, as long as we're talking about that part of infrastructure, that isn't a benefit. And then on the next page, 164, where it says emergency preparedness and power shutoffs. You know, I know that people can look it up, but it says it activates a short-term stage 5 critical water supply, and then where to look it up. But I just wondered if there's any way to just say a brief thing of what stage 5 would entail. I don't know. And then the last thing is just,
it actually had some and we took it out for space. And Becca and I actually went back and forth on it, so we can probably add a couple if we're shortening the did you know. And I actually see that we have a little typo on the website address. I'll fix that too.
Oh, good. Oh yeah, Soquel crew cater. Got it.
The website addresses don't get, they get through on spell check. So.
And then the last thing is just under the employee spotlight. Gosh, we have such cool pictures of the whole staff. I don't know. I guess I'd rather have one less picture of pipes and one more that shows the whole staff, because it's just, there's, you know, it's an employee spotlight honoring all of our public servants. And I don't know, that was just an input from me. Okay. All right, that is all I have.
Thank you, Director. Unfortunately, our staff photo is now almost 3 years old.
Oh, shoot. Okay. Never mind then. But we should get a new one for the next time.
Yes.
You need an employee meeting.
Yeah, we need a celebration.
We need to not have to wear masks so we can see who the people are.
Yeah.
So that one was just staff input from me. So you got, I don't know who else has anything.
Just a minor thing. And these are all good things. Well, two minor things. One was on what does a typical residential water bill pay for? If there's some description of the administrative services part of that, I don't know what administrative services function means. So, and yeah.
Okay, we can add some more language to that.
And it does. I think that the 5% and 2%, it, you know, I think somebody else said this, that there's kind of a repeat there, because it talks about administrative in the 5% and also a separate thing. So make it maybe a little clearer. And then the last item on employee, I'm trying to be able to move my cursor through this. On the employee spotlight, I like the first part of it, but the second part, it just seems like it's not really that pertinent. You know, talking about a former U.S. Secretary of Treasury. So I don't know if any other directors or anyone else has that same.
I like it. Because it's just highlighting the calling of public service, chance to make a difference, improve the world. I like it. Sorry.
That's fine, Tom.
I like it too.
Is that a motion?
No, do we? I guess we do need a motion to accept it with the changes.
We don't
need direction to staff.
I think Director Christensen may have some comments.
Yeah, I don't think Michelle either has anything. Well, you know, I went back to the my major thing that was what does a typical residential water bill pay? And I was just thinking, water, the actual water should be in there, even if it's not a major cost. I agree about that people don't understand that, but I still think people are going to look for water in there, like the actual
production of the water.
Yeah, so they can really see the totality of their bill that way. And I can understand not putting it in there because the major costs are the cost of delivering safe and pure, and high quality water to customers on demand. But still, it might.
Isn't water the 100%? All these things add up to you having water in your faucet, right?
There's no water there though.
Yeah.
In terms of cost, the water is one of our least costs.
I know, I realize that. I think they should see that though.
I think we can add
water. Don't you remember the old comments? Oh, waterfalls, it's raining. Why does water cost so much? Well, it's just.
Well, I think you're also talking about like the extraction of the water and treating the water.
And that's the operations maintenance, all of that. Absolutely. That's why I'm saying that the 100% that adds up to is the water.
No, that's the other costs.
No, that's how you get your water. You wouldn't have water if you didn't have all of these.
Well, you also get service and other things too.
Yeah.
But I still think that those all add up to the cost of water.
Well, you're saying the water that we get out of the ground is free, except for all these other costs. And I get that, but I just think we should mention it at least. I agree with you, but I still think, there should be, something to that effect said.
Maybe under operations maintenance, we can say pumping of the water or
power, pumping,
extraction
and treatment, chemical.
Yeah. Because I'm still going to look for the water.
The value of water is having clean water, and the way you get clean water is through all of these items, even the billing person. I mean, we have to have all of these in order to be able to have good, clean, safe water.
I agree, but I get Carla's point that somewhere there should be something about, in one of these categories, the pumping of the water.
Yes.
Well,
but that's in operations and maintenance.
And infrastructure. Here's the infrastructure to deliver the water.
Yeah.
I think we can modify that and include some of those aspects in each of the
elaboration. It doesn't need, I'm not saying to make a complete revamping of it. I just think you should mention, the actual cost of delivering that much water is in all of these services that are required to produce safe, clean water for us.
I really like the layout and it's very attractive, and so it's a really nice piece. Come a long way since I've been on the board.
Yeah,
we have an in-house graphic artist now, so it's very helpful.
That is
with Becca.
I know I happened to be while I was sitting here at the Legislative Days Zoom conference, I was also going through papers when I got old papers that I found, that I've piled up around my desk on pertaining to Soquel Water District, and I found in 2010 Urban Water Management Plan, and I have to say we've made great improvements there. And a lot of those brochures and reports and articles by some current staff members, but there was a different approach. It's really, really readable. Thank you.
I have just a comment to propose to the board just from the last item related to, promoting the standing committees and getting more interest in it. In terms of adding that to the what's on tap, it can be done, but it does have a timing element involved. These go out, it takes about 2 weeks for these to be printed and then inserted into the bills, and then the bills kind of go out to our customers on a rolling cycle. So it's about a month and a half that this could be before these actually drop into people's mailboxes. So it does have an impact to the recruitment of standing committees and the process of trying to select and then onboard them for our our meetings. So
Well,
just want you guys to consider that if you'd like us to add that in this one.
I think quick sips is fine.
Okay.
Are there any other comments? It's healthy not to agree on everything.
Are we good?
I think it's adjournment.
No, I think we have to, did we already make a motion? Because we
No,
made a
it's just
motion for everything
direction.
but this.
This is information only.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, so then the next item is adjournment.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Yes.
Thank you.
And
Good night, all.
I will see you at
Thank
the
you.
next meeting.
Thanks for all your good work, everybody.